Because Matt, propaganda, is it used? Of course. And do you think this is happening in Canada? And I have some suspicions. I know some of these people too. I saw what happened as I ran for the PPC in the election. And then boom, friends turned into foe. And then after the election, they want to be friends again. Does this happen? And do you think people are being paid?
Yeah. Yes. I mean,
yes. I just love how you bring it in. Yeah.
The short answer, right? Well, I mean, for the more nuanced answer, I guess the thing I've tended to observe is that disinformation operatives tend to be of two sort of categories. You've got those who are self-aware of what they are and those who are unconscious of what they are. I'd say the first category is smaller, much more influential, much more causal. And it's easy to sort of like label everybody as part of the PSYOP, or, you know, to a certain degree, a lot of people are, but they're against their own desires. You know, they're going along with what they think is the best thing to do based on the information they're getting. They start getting calls from sources they trust, providing them information, insider information, and they go with it. Or they're getting little incentives that they think are innocent enough to maybe go to this seminar, to get this briefing, to be, you know, to maybe go to a trip to some place in the Middle East and go through a workshop or two. And it seems all innocent. And they don't realize that their mind, the way that they're perceiving reality is being sculpted with messaging that is making them an instrument of ultimately the enslavement of the people that they think that they're actually helping. So there's those kinds that I think are the majority of the unaware misinformation influencers. And I generally refrain from labeling, from passing judgment, although I will if I'm really certain. And I know that there are a handful of influencers who I'm quite certain are very, very knowledgeable of what they are. Majority I don't think are. But I would say this, like, there's certain patterns that I'm seeing right now based on my work as a historian. I'm seeing certain patterns reemerge, certain formulas for population control and perception management that have worked very effectively to get certain results in the past, and the same results are being gamed at yet again today. For example, the radical Bolsheviks. I'm about to release a book for Christmas called "Why Real Patriots Don't Think Like Hitler." It's called "Why Real Patriots Don't Think Like Hitler." It's a good name because it's obviously we're seeing a certain revivalist revisionism going on right now. And what I would say, people have heard me mention that the Wall Street and London bankers that were actually the thing behind the rise of fascism, which came about as a solution to a desperate population that was broken down after World War I, after the suffering, the controlled demolition of their economies. And the idea was, well, the miracle economic solution is fascism to get your dignity back. But those same bankers were also funding radical Bolshevism. So the radical Bolshevik movement of Trotsky, of the sex education, the basically proto-pedophilia operations in the Hungarian Bolshevik government of 1918 under Georg Lukács, were all being provided money and support by those same bankers who are playing both sides, left and right. So I think the populations of the world have been managed by left-right dynamics from the French Revolution, where you had the emotional Jacobins who were turned into a weaponized mob of proto-Bolsheviks that overturned the entire established order and turned the potential of a real French Revolution into a bloodbath where everyone was getting their heads lopped off. And as a reaction, you had a Girondin reaction of the logical, elite that tried to impose order onto the anarchy of the emotional chaos of the mob. Both sides were taking turns lopping each other's heads off. Both sides were pushing two different kinds of tyranny, one a little bit more rigidly fascist as a reaction to the left fascism, but as a result was civil war, effectively, a total civil war and a bloodbath, a terror on both sides, and a pagan revival on both sides, and then ultimately a Napoleon hard fascist that was trying to bring about a new Jerusalem to bring back the Jews into the Middle East, as Napoleon called himself the protector of the Jews. and had the idea of après moi le déluge, after me the flood. He saw himself as the Messiah that would bring in a new age, a new 1,000-year Reich, with the recovery of the Holy Land and the building up of the Third Temple. So Napoleon had that. He was being funded by the same bankers, though, that did the problem reaction solution. We did the same thing with Trotsky and the figures who were pushing the Nazi Party and the Italian fascists and the French fascists and the American fascists that were also pushing the same thing. Around Henry Ford, who was financing that. A lot of the Wall Street bankers were also funding the American Fascist Party that were exposing the international Jewry as the useful scapegoat. So I do see Zionism as being something that's done a lot of evil. It's bringing us into a very bad place in many ways. But there's also, I think, a disposability to those who are useful idiots bringing about this cataclysmic situation, which are ultimately sacrificial to a higher agenda. So that's something that I'm seeing repeat, and it's a concern that I have right now that we're falling for a trap that got us into a lot of problems in the past.